Welcome to Cranky Live, the show where bold minds meet real talk. This isn't your average sports or news show. It's where we break down sports, culture, and controversy with facts, fire, and fearless honesty. Here, truth cuts through the noise, and hype gets exposed. From football to track and field, from world issues to local debates, we ask the tough questions, speak without fear, and go deeper than the headlines. We don't follow the crowd, we set the trend. While others recycle the same tired takes, we bring fresh insight, unfiltered analysis, and bold perspectives. No echo chambers, no puppet talk, just real conversation for people who think for themselves. Listen with your brain, not just your ears. Think critically, question boldly, and speak freely. This is Cranky Live, where reason rules the mic and truth always win. Come on, let's get into it. Good night to everyone out in YouTube land. Let me know if you can hear me on YouTube land. Let me know if you can hear me. Just say yes in the chat. I'll make sure my mic and everything is working well before we start. And good night to everyone. Hope you had a good weekend. If you're in the Northeast, can you hear me, Triples? Can you hear me? Click on to let me know if you can hear me. Okay, great. If you're in the Northeast, we have had one of the worst snowstorms I can remember in a long, long while, actually. For years, we haven't been having these type of weather, but it's ugly. It's ugly. And I didn't shovel this time around. Last time I shoveled, I had back pain, so my niece and nephew. My niece and nephew. My niece doesn't do anything. That's too laborious. My nephew's been doing the shoveling, so it's a good thing. But hopefully you can get out from under the snow, get back to normal, and get back to work. Now, tonight, we have a program I'm very excited about. We're having a conversation. If you're thinking about relocating, especially if you go into Florida, a lot of people are always moving to Florida, or frankly, nowadays, Atlanta is in the mix. A lot of people think relocation is very, very simple. You sell, you move, you buy to a new location, you're done. But it's much more complex than that. The truth is, buying in a new state is strategic. What you buy, where you buy, how you evaluate risk, that matters quite a bit. Now, today, I'm really, really pleased. I have a great friend of mine joining me to talk about relocating. Her name is Tamara. I call her Tammy. I'm going to butcher her last name, Celeste. She's an attorney by trade, owner of Sweet Realty Group in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Worked on Wall Street, as I said, attorney by trade, and a top broker now in the Florida area. She brings a very unique legal and financial perspective to the home buying process. She works directly with buyers who are relocating and acquiring property in Florida. And today we're breaking it down, what you need to know before you buy. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her to the stage. Good night. I'm going to say Tammy, not Tamara. Tammy, how you doing? How are you doing, Tammy? Good night.
Well, you always butcher my name for as long as I've known you. It's
yes.
Tamara. But that's because you always call me Tammy. So that's, yeah.
I never call you Tamara.
I don't think you've ever called me Tamara.
No.
Yeah.
So, how are you doing, Tammy?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. So tonight we're going to talk about relocation, your specialty.
Yes. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Do we have people listening? I can't see anything. So
we have about 17 people watching.
Oh, wow.
Only 10 has hit the like button, which is not a good thing.
Okay,
this is a very important topic.
The other 7, y'all better get on it.
Yes, they need to get on it. So Tammy, let's talk about relocation. First of all, I have to ask this question, which is, when you left Goldman Sachs, that you were at Goldman for a while, did you go straight into real estate?
No, I don't know if you remember, I left Goldman to launch my footwear line.
Oh, that's right. You had yes.
So I left Goldman to launch my footwear line and did that for several years. And then I also at the same time I moved to Florida because my ex-husband and I built a house there, and got my real estate license because we were doing some investing. So yeah, that's how I kind of landed when the shoe line didn't work out the way I needed it to, just because of timing, the market crash, everything. I just went straight into real estate full time. So
and you've been doing that ever since.
I have. It's
So tell the
been
people about your real estate firm before we jump into the questions and answer session.
okay. It's Sweet Life Realty Group. So located in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I've been in real estate 20 years, but the company has been around 13 years now. So, and I also just opened a real estate brokerage in Nashville, Tennessee, too, under the same name, Sweet Life Realty Group, Tennessee. So yeah, super excited.
So you have locations both in Florida and now in Tennessee?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay. And this is your website. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this is Tammy's website, people. So
sweetliferealty.com.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. And we'll put that up again throughout the show. Now let's jump into it.
All right, let's jump.
Overview and relocation trends. So what trends are you seeing in people relocating to Florida right now?
In terms of trends, I just see a lot of people moving from the Northeast and from the Midwest. My most recent clients, literally last week, were from the Carolinas. People are moving for warmth, especially this time of year. They're tired of snow. A lot of people are moving for retirement, no state tax. People are moving, people who still work from home, they're able to live anywhere. So they're just like, you know what, we want a little bit more space. We want sunshine. They're looking at different states. So Florida has always been a top choice, especially for people in the Northeast where I grew up, and where you are. So New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, even the DMV area, and then Michigan and Illinois are a lot of my clients.
Okay, interesting. Now, I know Florida is a no state tax state, right? So that's very attractive to people. New York, depends on how much you make, it go up to 12 point something %. California, similarly. What about the politics, though, in Florida? Does that deter people from coming there? People already don't care. They just move because they want to relocate and go to a good location.
You know what? I don't talk politics with clients. I grew up, you don't talk about money. Well, I have to, discuss the house price, but you don't talk money, politics, and religion.
Okay, good.
So I don't even know what most of my clients' I don't know what their political affiliation is. That I'm here to help you buy a house and walk you through the process. And
here to tell you whether you're Democrat or MAGA or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
When you look at the profile of your buyer, has it changed over the last 2 years or has it been consistent?
I'm getting a lot more retirees or people who are close to retirement age. Port St. Lucie has recently, I would say since in the last 5 years, has become a huge retirement haven. They've built some mega communities that I don't know if people online have heard about. The Villages, which is further north up outside of Orlando. That was like the haven for retirees back in the day, and they're still building there. But I think Port St. Lucie, a lot of my clients start there and then they end up and they see what Port St. Lucie has to offer. There's one community in Port St. Lucie right now that's going to have about 11,000 homes when it's done, and that's a 55 plus community. So a lot of retirees or would-be retirees are moving to the area.
The interesting about I'm dating myself now because my mom, before she passed away, lived in Florida, and I remember one of her best friends moved up to Port St. Lucie in the early 2000s when it was not a lot of houses, just a lot of land actually. Right. So it's come a long way because there's a lot of people moving in that area.
A lot. People wouldn't even recognize it. If you were there 15, 10, even 5 years ago, and now you come up, you wouldn't even recognize Port St. Lucie. The growth has been amazing from, 2020 to 2025, I think the growth has been like 30, 26%, 26%.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's exploding, exploding. So
So I digress here. Do you have the infrastructure to support that growth?
I will say that the city has been amazing with planning, you know, ahead. Now, is it perfect? No, because there's so much growth. Is there traffic? Yes. And we still get the snowbirds, meaning the people who come just for the winter months. So between December and Easter, we are bombarded with even extra residents. But I will say, Port St. Lucie, the infrastructure, they have done a phenomenal job. A few years ago, they opened up how many lanes? Is it 6 lanes going east to west on this area called Crosstown Parkway that wasn't there when I moved there. It's either 6 or 8, three. I think it's three in one direction, three in the other. Anyway, so and they've been widening lanes. They've been, I mean, they're really good. They've added since I've moved there. They added 3 exits on I-95.
Okay.
So they're on top of it. Nothing's perfect, but I will say Port St. Lucie, they're very good in terms of planning ahead with their infrastructure.
That's great to know, actually. Now let's talk
Hmm.
about when people relocate, a lot of time people make some really big mistakes. So we're going to talk about mistakes and early planning. What's the biggest mistake people make when relocating to a new state?
I think that they fall in love with the idea of moving to Florida, but they haven't really thought through everything. So they might say, okay, I want to move. And, there's so much to think about when you relocate. Because I relocated from, I was living in New Jersey at the time when we relocated. And I probably didn't think it through as much as I should have. But you have to think about if you're still working, what's the commute time? You have to look at schools if you still have children in schools. If you're going to move into an HOA community, some people move and say, "Oh, this looks great. It's fun. They have all the amenities." And then they're like, "Oh, we don't want to be involved. We don't like all these rules. So we don't want to be here." And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen, I won't necessarily call it mistake, but a lot of people move and they buy a big house because their kids and their grandkids, they want everybody to come visit for the holidays. And then they realize, okay, we have this big pool and this big house, and we bought all this, and people come once or twice a year, and the maintenance ends up being so much that they're ready to downsize. So it's really thinking through your lifestyle, thinking through where you want to live. My clients who came in last week from North Carolina, they started out in the Villages, which is further north, like I mentioned. And they realized, you know what, if we're going to move to Florida, their daughter's in West Palm Beach, which is Port St. Lucie is basically a suburb of West Palm Beach. So we're like 45 minutes, excuse me, north of West Palm Beach. So their kids are there and they wanted to be close to their kids. They realize being further north is they're in Florida, but it's a 3-hour drive if something happens. So even just looking at that, people say, "Oh, you know what? I have family in Florida. I just want to get to the state." But Florida's a pretty big state. I mean, it's not Texas, but you could still be 3 or 4 hours away depending on where family is. So, just taking everything into consideration when you're making that move.
Do buyers prioritize lifestyle or investment value first?
It depends. It depends on why you're moving. Most of my buyers are lifestyle driven because if you're an investor, you're buying for investment. Most people aren't thinking when they buy that they're going to be selling. And now life happens, obviously. You can get divorced, someone could get ill, so most of my clients aren't thinking like investment per se. Like they want something that they feel is going to be in a good area that's going to appreciate, but you don't know that. So most of my clients aren't buying for investment.
And what should someone do before they start browsing online? Before they even start browsing, what should they be thinking about? What should they be doing?
Well, you can always browse. There's no harm in browsing. I think reaching out, we all browse. I think reaching out to whether it's a house, a pair of shoes, everybody browses.
Right.
I think you should definitely, if you're really, really considering Florida, get down here and look around. Get with a realtor, contact someone, ask questions, ask about the areas. The East Coast, which is where Port St. Lucie is so different from the West Coast, like Sarasota, and different from North, like Jacksonville, and different from South. I mean, Port St. Lucie is still considered South Florida because we're only an hour and a half from Miami if you drive fast. And
Very fast, but I thought it
if
was
you
like
drive
2 hours.
fast, I make it to Fort Lauderdale in an hour and 15 minutes
So
if there's
you're
no
driving
traffic.
fast.
No, 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 no. If there's no traffic, I can make it to Fort Lauderdale in an hour and 15 minutes, and then there's another half hour to Miami or so. So
So
yes,
those
I
of
can
you in
make it under
Florida,
2 hours.
like Dr. Don, Port St. Lucie is not an hour away. I'm sorry, I've been there. I drive from Fort Lauderdale up there from Miami.
All right, it's 2 hours. It's Miami is
You got to be flying to get up there.
2 hours away. But there's a bright line. That's a whole nother thing. You can get on a train and go down to Miami. But anyway.
That's right. There's a train that runs from Orlando to Miami.
There's
and it's
a
pretty
train
good, actually.
now from Orlando to Miami, the bright line. We don't have a stop yet in the Treasure Coast. We're hoping to get one. So the closest stop is West Palm. So you have to drive down to West Palm to go back north if you want to go to Orlando. If you want to go south, you drive to West Palm and hop on the bright line and go down to Miami. And it's really nice and luxurious. And you get drinks and relax. And yeah, it's a good little
Is it pricey?
It depends. They have pricing, it's based on demand and if you buy in advance, I think it's 20 something dollars, but it could be 50. And they have first class and they have coach. And so, yeah, but it's nice. You can be on your computer, Wi-Fi. They have a really nice station where you can buy food and drinks. I've taken the Bright Line down a lot when I don't want to drive to Miami and I have an event or want to see a show or go grab dinner. My girlfriends and I will hop on it and just go down for the day.
So then how do you get around? Somebody pick you up or you take Uber or something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Take Uber. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you mentioned visiting the area to get familiarity. Is that before you make an offer? Because I know individuals during COVID when the market was going out of control who made offers without visiting the area, without even seeing the house live.
Okay. So that was
bought a house without seeing the house live.
That's an anomaly. COVID was crazy, right? And I had clients that had to do that. I had clients that bought houses sight unseen because I had a couple. They were in Hawaii and they were retiring from the service. They weren't gonna fly to Florida from Hawaii. So I literally would take the phone and do video tours. That COVID was an anomaly. So yes, I have had clients to do that. It's not a bad thing but you have to know your comfort level, right? Most people don't have a comfort level of buying a house sight unseen because you don't get a feel for the neighborhood. No matter what, if I take a camera and pan the neighborhood and say, this is the house next door, this is the house across the street, you still don't have a real good feel for it. So yeah, the tolerance level for most people isn't to buy a house sight unseen. I would say come down. If you're torn between, let's say, Sarasota, Fort Lauderdale, Port St. Lucie, come and spend a couple of days in each place and drive around, meet with a realtor, see some homes, look at communities, and you really should take your time because a move that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. So
you're saying in choosing the right neighborhood, you got to spend some time in the area. How do you know you're choosing the right neighborhood, though?
I think it's like, when you meet the person that you like want to be with. Yeah. And you just know, you just feel it. Like, I think you feel it. Like, even the house. I have people who are local and when they buy the house, they walk in and they're like, this is it. It's just a feeling you get. The vibe, the energy, and also your lifestyle. Are you a boater? Are you a golfer? Do you like to go to shows? Are you introverted? Do you care about going to the clubhouse and being around a lot of people? Are you extroverted? I mean, there's just so many different factors that you have to consider, and you have to know what your lifestyle is. So, for instance, Port St. Lucie, we have I lived in New York, obviously. I'm still a big city girl at heart. That's why I love having the opportunity to go between Florida and Nashville, because Nashville has a bigger city feel. But I love theater. I fly to New York a couple times a year to go to a show. But we also have 4 theaters within 45 minutes drive. Kravitz Center in West Palm Beach being the largest one. So we get Hamilton, and we get all the shows, and we get, those types of things. Do you love the beach? Well, you're 20 minutes from the beach in Port St. Lucie, depending on what side of town you're on. You could be closer than that. So you really have to look at, what do you want to do and what do you want to get out of? Do you want to take up tennis or pickleball? Do you want, there's just so many things that you have to look at your lifestyle and see what it is.
So all being equal and money not
Mm-hmm.
being a factor,
Okay,
what's
money's
the
always a
ideal
factor,
place?
but okay.
Well, in your world, it's not a factor. So what's
Yeah.
the ideal place in Florida that one, if you're saying, you know what, this is perfect place to live. It has the best schools, taxes are reasonable, it has the best facilities. In terms of entertainment is good. If you're gonna pick an ideal spot in Florida, where would you suggest? Or
Well,
location, which is easy, proximity is close.
Well, of course, I'm going to say Port St. Lucie or the Treasure Coast, anywhere on the Treasure Coast. And the Treasure Coast, let me be clear, encompasses 3 counties. So it's Martin, St. Lucie, and Vero Beach, which is, oh my gosh, I can't think, Brevard County. So, no, I'm making that up. Vero Beach people are going to kill me right now. But anyway, so I love the Treasure Coast. I think we have everything that you need, and you are within. Let me give you an example. FedEx just built a huge facility there in the last couple of years. And the reason I heard they built a facility there off 95 in Port St. Lucie is because from there, we are within, we can get to, I think it was 80 or 90% of Florida within 3 hours.
Nice.
So that says a lot. So you can get across the state into Tampa. You can go down south to Miami, Fort Lauderdale. You can go up north to Orlando. It's a great location. We're near the ocean. If you don't want to be too close to the ocean, you can be more inland. We're on the west side of town as opposed to the east side of town. I think there's just so much to offer. Martin County has all the A-rated schools, which is just north of Port St. Lucie. Port St. Lucie has great schools also. I just think it has so much to offer. And again, I'm a little biased, so yeah.
No, it doesn't sound like you're biased at all. So in terms of property evaluation, what property features are especially important in Florida? So for example, we hear that when you're in the East Coast, you hear about hurricanes in Florida, flood zone, construction type, roof age. From a property standpoint, what do you consider to be key and important?
Well, you guys got hurricanes now too, right? So I'm just saying.
No, we don't really have hurricanes.
It kind of came up. It kind of came up that way into Jersey. It kind of hit Jersey.
We get wind. On the shores, we get some stuff. Here in the city, there's buildings precludes from happening. Go ahead.
So when you're looking, okay, so let's start with the house overall. You definitely want to look at the age of the roof. Insurance it'll be very difficult for you to get insurance if your roof is over 15 years old. You start really taking a hit on your insurance. And that's for just a basic tile roof. If you're talking the barrel tiles, I think those have a 25 to 30-year life, the big, beautiful barrel tile roofs. But let's just talk about the basic tile. So if you're getting up there in age, it's going to be very difficult. So you want to make sure you look at the age of the roof. Now, most of the homes that were built in 2005 or so, you're starting to see that they're getting new roofs now because it's difficult to insure those. You also, now if you're looking at communities versus new construct, well, that's a whole nother conversation we'll get into. I'm sorry, what was the rest of the question?
Well, the question was about the key things that one should think about, hurricane,
Hurricane.
flood,
Yes.
construction type, roof age. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have all homes built after 2004 have to have in our county, in our area, have to have hurricane shutters.
Okay.
It's mandated. So if you buy a house from 2004 on, you should have hurricane shutters or some sort of hurricane protection like impact windows, etc. Flood, you have to, if you're close to the east side, US 1 or the ocean, those are typically flood zones. You should get flood, you have to get flood insurance, especially if you're getting a mortgage. If you're paying cash, you don't have to have it, you can self-insure. If you are living on the west side, I tell everybody, the water doesn't know that you're on the west side. Get flood insurance.
Yeah, by the way, self-insured means you have no insurance.
Self-insured means self-insured means that if your house blows away, that you have to pay for it to be restructured.
That's right.
You own so that means that you have, $500,000, $600,000 sitting in the bank where you could just build your house again. So that's self-insured. Yeah. So I tell everybody, just get flood insurance. It's like anywhere from $500-$700 a year. And because the water doesn't know you live on the west side if a storm comes. And if water comes in underneath your house, that's a flood and you don't have flood insurance, your insurance isn't going to cover you.
I thought flood and hurricane insurance were expensive in Florida. No?
Most of it, I have hurricane insurance. I think it's included in my policy. But yeah, no, flood insurance is not expensive. It's like I said, it's like $500-$700 a year.
Okay.
So, unless I'm getting a special rate that I don't know about, but I don't think I am. So
you mentioned this earlier, but how important it is to understand HOA rules and community restrictions? Because, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Because what?
Because sometimes you want to do what you want to do with your property because it's yours.
Yes. Then you should not. Then you should not be living in the HOA. I'm telling you that right now.
Because when I buy a property and I'm looking at property stuff, I want to do what I want to do with it. If I want to put in a new pool, I want to put in some. I don't want to be any restrictions.
Okay, then you don't move into an HOA.
Okay.
Because you're one of those people who don't like rules. But so here's the pros and cons. Obviously, the HOA. There's some control. Your neighbors aren't going to have a million cars in the driveway, right? They're not going to be parking on the grass. They're not going to be, and I'm not saying that people do this.
Wait. You can't have a certain number of cars in your driveway?
No, but what I'm saying is sometimes you get houses outside of communities and you can have, 10 cars parked there every night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most HOAs, there's just restrictions on what color you can paint your home. It's all kinds of things. You have to look at the rules and regulations. Now, the pluses to that is the consistency of it all. They maintain the community. I will say in Port St. Lucie, I would say all, really. I can't think of one community that isn't well maintained. They really care. Our motto is keep Port St. Lucie beautiful. And you don't find garbage all over the streets. You see the palm trees. It's really a beautiful city. So you want the consistency of an HOA, the amenities. So if you like the pool, if you don't want a pool, you might have a clubhouse. You might have a guard, a 24-hour man gate, or at least a gate to get in and out for safety reasons. So especially like a lot of people are buying second homes who might not be ready to retire yet, but they're buying it now so they can come down a couple of times a year until they retire in a few years. And they like that security aspect of having the security gate or a security guard. One thing you have to look out for in these new communities, though, is what they call a CDD, which is a community development district. So what that means is when they're building the community, they take out, it's almost like a bond for the infrastructure, for the roads, for the water and the sewer and everything, and they pass it on to the buyers. So you may have a higher tax bill because that CDD will apply to all the buyers in the community for 20 to 30 years. And you might be charged like an extra $1,000 a year or more. So you want to look out for that with the new communities. And yeah, so I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, but it's really, if you like to have parties every weekend and you want to turn up and you're gonna have a lot of people at your house, probably HOA is not for you.
Well,
Probably an HOA is
that
not
means
for
it's
you.
not really your house. Then it's yours and the neighborhood's house. But they can
That
tell
is
you what to
not
do with your house.
true. That is so not true. But this going in. You'll get a rule book about this thick about what you
Like
can and
anybody
can't
read
rent.
those rule books. Like
And like
anybody read
what
those rule books.
well, they usually have a Q&A. So it's
Okay.
like, it'll tell you how many pets you can have, you can or cannot have. It'll tell you if you can have motorcycles. It'll tell you if you have a business. A lot of them don't allow trucks with lettering, like if you have a plumbing company or lawn care service, so there's people know. I mean, you move into a community for a reason.
So people, think about this, people. If you're a plumber, you may not be able to live in a certain community, even if you have the resources.
Well, you just have to keep your truck without lettering someplace else, or it has to fit in your garage, and you can't leave it on the street.
Okay.
Yes.
But you can't reconfigure your garage because it's pre-configured because the house comes with a garage, right?
Right. You just got to get another truck and get it wrapped with your name on it.
All right. Let's move into new construction versus resale home.
Okay.
Is new construction easier for relocating buyers than resale? So what's the preference? Is a new construction home, is it easier for relocating buyers to acquire new construction versus buying a resale home? Personally, for me, I like new homes. I like open concept. I don't like them old houses where the dining room is separated and yeah.
Okay. So are we talking about you or we're talking about everybody else?
We're talking about general. We're talking about me. We're talking about me.
Okay. Is it easier, is your question, to buy? No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. It's different. So it's like, what do you want? I would say the pros and cons of new construction are, you have a brand new home, obviously. So your roof, your AC, everything's new and under warranty. You generally get a 1-year warranty on all the components of the house, and then you get a 10-year structural warranty. So that is amazing. You don't have to worry about your insurance costs being exorbitant because everything's new, right? Now, if you're building, so the new communities have what they call spec homes, which means that the builder built the house to anticipate finding a buyer in advance. And then they have build to suit. So you go in and you say, so my clients last week who came in from the Carolinas, their home, one of them bought a model home. Actually, the builder had just put all their models up for sale. One of them bought the model home and one of them is building. Two of them came in, two brothers. So the build, the pluses with the build to suit is you get to pick your colors. You get to pick your color cabinets, your flooring, your paint colors, your this, your that. If you're buying a spec home, the builder already did all that for you, but it's ready to go sooner. If you're building from scratch, it could take, if you have time, it could take anywhere, depending on the community, anywhere from 5 months to 14 months, depending on the community. So those things, if you're ready to go now, a resale is great. Also, you have to think about costs. So when you're buying a new construction, those hidden costs are things like the models you walk into, they're gorgeous, right? Absolutely stunning, right? Yeah. But you find out, oh, this doesn't come with it. Oh, crown molding is extra. Oh, I love those floors. Oh, that's an upgrade. Oh, I love that cabinet color. Oh, white is standard. You want the dark? Oh, that's an upgrade. Like everything, a lot of times.
It's not deceptive advertising.
It is not. It's
the house is the product being advertised. And they tell you a price range for the product. And the one you go into, because I've been there, you go into the house and it's beautiful. Yeah. And it has everything. And say, you know what? That's why some people buy the model house, which is normally cheaper, right? I think they're normally because it's not normally cheaper.
No, because they've
I thought the model
everything.
house was cheaper because so many people have been through it because it's a model house. They give you a discount.
No, because they've added so many upgrades to it.
Oh,
You're paying for those upgrades. Like my clients who just bought the model, Theirs came with a beautiful pool, a lake view. A lake view is usually a lot premium. So if you're on the lake, that you're paying like 40, $50,000 more to be on the lake than not to be on the lake.
So you're
So
paying $50,000 for looking at water.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
So
like
you have
water
to
that
think
much.
about, so that's what I was saying. You have to realize those hidden costs. So the lot premium, if you want a corner lot, it may cost you a little more. If you want a lake view lot, it may cost you a little more, or a lot more. So those hidden costs. Now, when you go over to resale, you also have to think a lot of times it doesn't come with blinds. You go into a resale, it may already be decorated, it may already have the colors, it may have blinds hanging up. Blinds cost you a couple $1,000s to outfit every single window and door. It's ready to go now, but you also have to look at, I say always get an inspection, whether you're buying new construction or existing, because just because it's new doesn't mean that you shouldn't have it inspected.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Now, what I recommend to my clients is, since you have that 1 year, and what I did when I built my home, since you have that 1 year warranty, I didn't have my inspection at closing. I waited until it settled a little bit, until I was in the home for 6, 7 months. And then I called an inspector, and then I brought that list. It was a couple little things. I brought that list to my builder before my warranty ran out and had them go through and fix all the little things.
Repeat that, because that's very important. I've never heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
You had the inspection done 6, 7 months into.
Right. So when you buy a new home, you typically get a 1 year warranty for anything, even if a tile cracks or this or that. So me knowing that, I said, I'm not going to do my inspection up front. Now, some people want to do their inspection up front, and I don't deter them from doing that. But I said, let me wait. So at month 6 or 7, I called an inspector. I said, hey, can you come over and do a home inspection on my house? Because the house settles. You're going to have there might be little cracks, because it's going to settle after a couple months. You're living in it. You might notice little things. So I had them come and do an inspection. When the report was ready, I think I did it like month 7. I took it to my builder and I said, I would like these things fixed. It was like things like in my attic, there needed some extra, what's it called? I can't even think right now. But anyway, just a couple things. And it wasn't anything major. I think a tile was cracked, and they came and they fixed it because I was still under warranty. So I waited for the house to settle and called for my inspection.
So the builder is the one who have the inspector, who sends the inspector?
No, I paid for inspection.
Oh, you pay for the inspector.
The buyer always pays for your inspector. The builder's not going to pay for an inspector.
Okay.
No. But remember, when they build the house, Port St. Lucie is pretty strict in terms of building codes. I mean, most cities should be and are, but they come out and inspect every single aspect of the house beforehand. But it was, there's always some little things that may happen once you live in it. So
which one is offering better value today, new construction or existing homes in terms of acquisition?
It depends. I would say the new home builders are offering some great incentives. One builder in particular is offering to pay closing costs, like $15,000 in closing costs. Another client of mine is getting 50% off upgrades for the house. So those things we just talked about. Oh, I want the crown molding. Oh, I want this tile. Oh, I want this. I want that. They're giving whatever the cost is. They're getting 50% off of any upgrades. It really depends on the type of home, and it depends on where you are. So I will say this: if you are just trying to move and you're buying like your first home, or you're really price conscious, there's great deals on everything. Like, it's a buyer's market in Port St. Lucie. There's a lot of inventory because the interest rates are still relatively high. You can have a pick, and you can get some good incentives from sellers. And then on the builder side, you can get, if you don't care about the upgrade, you're like, listen, I just want to be in Florida. I want a house, a newer home. I don't care if it has carpet. I don't care if it has, XYZ. And you want to, I call it like a base model home. You can get some really good homes some good deals with those too. So I think it really just depends on what you're looking for.
All right. So somebody have a question in the audience, and I'll go back and forth. I have a lot more questions. Someone said, "How
Kissimmee.
about Kissimmee? What's your thoughts on living there?"
I've been there. I've been there. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If you need a good realtor, I have some really good friends in Kissimmee that I can refer you to, and they can tell you all about that area. I know it's outside of Orlando. I think my mom had her birthday party there a couple of years ago. We rented a big house in that area. But yeah, I haven't heard anything negative. I know a lot of people are moving to that area. So definitely let me know if you need a referral there.
Because you normally focus on, even though you post solution, you do further south, right? Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
So I don't tend to do that, and here's why.
Because I saw you looking at home in Miami one time, weren't you? When I was down there like 2 years ago.
That's because that was longer than 2 years ago. That was, I think you were looking.
Yes.
But because you're my close friend, I was trying to help you. But normally I would not. And here's the thing. If you call me and you already know the areas that you want to move to, like if you call me and say, hey, I'm in Miami, I want to be in this neighborhood, blah, 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 and you've already narrowed it down, I'll help you. If you call me and say, and this should be any realtor, and I hate to say this, but you should be skeptical if a realtor is not covering that area and you don't know where you want to live, the realtor doesn't know the area. Like I can't tell you, oh, this is here. Let me suggest this neighborhood at this price point, and this has the things you're looking for, because I don't know the area. So I'm doing you a disservice for me just coming down and saying, oh yeah, I'll sell you a house in Florida, or I'll sell you a house in Kissimmee, because I can't tell you what the neighborhoods are like. I can't tell you, the values of the neighborhoods. So I would always refer that out unless you came to me. Like I have friends who say, okay, I want this neighborhood because my mother lives there. Can you come help me? Okay, you've narrowed it down. I can run the numbers. I can negotiate for you. I can do those things, but I don't feel comfortable.
So how should relocating buyers prepare financially before making an offer?
Okay, so this is a biggie, because a lot of people don't realize that in order to relocate to a different state, you have to show income in that state. Or if you're getting a mortgage. If you're getting a mortgage. Now, I'm not including people who are buying cash. Like if you have a house in New York that's worth $1 million and you're going to sell it and take that $1 million and buy a $500,000 house in Florida, that's totally different. But if you're getting a mortgage, you have to show that you have income in that state. Now, what does that mean? If you work from home, that's sufficient, because but the lender is going to want a letter from your employer saying, yes, you can work in Florida, right? I have people call me and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'm looking to move, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, great, but you're not going to get an approval unless you have a letter saying you already have a job. Okay, if you're retired, that's different, because you can use your retirement income, your Social Security income, all that to prove that that income obviously transfers. But
that's if the mortgage companies suppose you bank with Chase, for example. You're going to buy a home in Florida and you work in New York. Wouldn't Chase give you a mortgage for the home in Florida?
Not if it's your primary. Now, if it's your second home, yes, because they want to. If you work in New York?
Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, and you say, hey, I'm moving.
You say your primary. Yes, it can be
right. And I'm moving to Florida full time. How are you going to show that you can commute back and forth to New York every day?
Well, maybe I have a private plane that takes it.
Then you probably wouldn't be talking to Chase for your mortgage either.
That is true.
So that's the number one thing. And the other thing I think people don't realize is, because interest rates are so high now, and they're not super high. I found my grandparents' mortgage from the 60s, and their interest rate was like 19% on their home.
19%?
Yes. But the home was like $40,000, right? But it was
90% of one is
right. But I'm saying, so we think that, oh my gosh, it's so high at 6%, and the reality is it's really still not. It's higher than what we're used to. But I say that to say, So 3%, I'm just giving really basic examples, and you'll probably correct me because you're the math guy here, right, B? So 3% interest rate, $400,000 home, roughly $1,200 mortgage, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Or $1,000 mortgage, yeah.
Yeah, 12,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
6% interest rate, $400,000 home, $2,400 mortgage, right? So a lot
If
of
you add in
people,
taxes and insurance, yeah.
and not even adding taxes and insurance.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about principal
Yeah.
and interest, right? So a lot of people who bought their homes with that 3% interest rate or less, I have some people 2.5, they don't realize that, oh my gosh, you know what? With the 6%, my mortgage is going to be this. And then you add on the taxes and you add on the insurance. And then if you go and move into an HOA, you add that in. So I say definitely talk to a lender, get with a realtor, get with a lender. Usually your realtor can refer a good lender locally. It's always good to use a local lender. You can use the big banks if you bank with Chase or B of A, but it's really good to use a local lender too. So
yeah, if I had a 2% mortgage, I don't think I would sell it, the house. Even
yeah,
I'd just probably rent it out. That differential, some people don't want the hassle of owning a home and dealing with tenants.
right.
But if I'm 2-3%, there's no way I'm giving that out.
You're not
That's
giving
why
it
people
up.
are struggling with, right? Because you have a 2% mortgage and you're gonna buy a house with 6-7%. You're just like, I can't balance that out. It just
Yeah.
doesn't work.
No, it's and it makes sense to keep the mortgage because it helps to pay the new mortgage to keep the old house. So
Yeah. So what costs tend to surprise out-of-state buyers?
I think the insurance. I think, and again, if you go with an older home, now what we do have in Florida, if you go with an older home or an older roof, which I wouldn't recommend, Citizens, Citizens is our state insurance company, so they have to write the policy when others won't. But you'll pay
Oh,
extra for it. Yeah, you'll pay extra for it. So I think and also just basic costs, like how much is it going to cost for you to move all that furniture down, right? You got to factor in the things outside of the moving and the mortgage, right? It could cost you $10,000 if you have a house full of furniture. Do you want to bring all that down? And is it worth it to bring all that down? If it's going to cost you $10,000 to move it. So that's a big hidden cost that people don't even think about. So
a
I
lot of
would,
put their thing in storage and they never go back and get it.
and
Just
then how
there.
much are you paying for it to be in storage?
I know people have done that. They put the thing in storage and it's there forever.
I
Yeah,
know.
because they're attached emotionally to those.
They're
furniture.
emotionally attached. And I try to tell people, please just don't be, you got to just let it go because half of the stuff that's sitting in storage for 2 years, if you're paying $200 a month, for 2, 3, 4 years,
Right.
that's a lot of money. So yeah.
Yeah. So how does down payment requirements differ between a primary home and a second home?
So good question, because I'm going through that right now. So if it's a primary home and you have several options. If the FHA, which is a federal program, and it's a minimum 3.5% down. Okay. You can only use it once though. So if you bought your first home, a lot of people, I just had a client, they were moving from Miami to Port St. Lucie. They were like, they didn't realize that they couldn't do the 3.5% down program because their current home has an FHA loan with 3.5%. So they decided that they would do it as a second home because they were still going to kind of go back and forth, and they had to do 10% down. So you have to do, if you're doing it as a second home, you have to do anywhere from 10 to 20% down. Okay. If it's your primary, and that's a conventional mortgage, that's a conventional. If it's your primary, you can do whatever you want. If you have more money and you don't, you want to put 20% down to avoid mortgage insurance payments, I would recommend, if you're selling your place up in New York, take 20% down and put that down. So your mortgage is going to be lower and you don't have the mortgage insurance. So
would you suggest, given that U.S. cash dollars are depreciating, would you suggest using cash, just buy it cash versus getting a mortgage? Because the question, it's always going to be the opportunity cost, right? Which is,
Right.
if I don't pay cash and I get a mortgage and I'm paying 6-7%, and I get some tax benefit from the interest, it then ties back into how much am I getting on the cash I would put in the bank, or what if I invested, right? If I invested, I run the risk of losing it. If I put in the bank, it's probably depreciated, even though I'm getting interest on it. So the question is, and this is just general for people out there, which is, do I buy cash or do I mortgage? Right? Some people say, well, if I mortgage the home and it goes under, hey, the bank has to take their home back. And I'll just move on.
Again, that's that's very personal, and most people don't have that luxury of doing that, because a lot of people are just strapped now. You know what I mean?
All right.
Especially first time buyers, and I know a lot of people in New York. Some of my clients in New York didn't buy in New York because it was just so expensive, and a lot of them are buying their first homes, now in Florida. So that's a personal decision. I would say you have to look at, talk to your financial person. If you have one, talk to your accountant, talk to your financial advisor. And you have to and your family member, your significant other, because that is definitely something that you have to look at the big picture,
Now, you mentioned earlier in the program that it's now a buyer's market, correct?
A buyer's market, depending on, in Port St. Lucie, yes. But remember, that's very micro. Every area, like West Palm, it's because there's so many people. West Palm is like, what are they calling it now? The New York of the South, because there's so many people, and that's just south.
Because all the hedge fund managers have moved
Because
down
all
to
the
Miami
hedge fund managers and everybody is from, the Wall Street people. So yes, and all the New York restaurants are coming to West Palm. So yeah, but in Port St. Lucie, yes.
So when you're typically buying a home, so the home is priced at, say, $700,000.
Mm-hmm.
When you're encouraging your clients going to buy the home to bid, do you give them a range, say, bid 10% below the asking price? How do you counsel them when it comes to that?
Now keep in mind, let's talk, if it's new construction, the builders don't negotiate. That's something to
that's where they give you closing costs paid.
Yes.
As an incentive.
They do. I mean, it's very, very, very rare that they negotiate. So I give hard numbers. Most of the time, by the time my clients are looking, like my clients who came in town, we've probably looked at, a dozen homes, and what the price range is at that point, because you're able to compare. Okay, this house to this house to this house. This house is 600,000. This house is 610. This house is 590. So you kind of know. Okay, these are all the houses. They're looking at very similar homes in similar neighborhoods, and the range is from 590 to 620, right? So I pull comps, and I don't.
So can you explain to what comps mean for people?
I'm sorry. Yes, comparable. So that's when we take. We look at similar homes in similar neighborhoods, and we run the numbers to see what has sold at what price, what's currently on the market and active, and then anything, anything that's already under contract. So we take those numbers and we get a range, and to see where this house should be, if it's priced correctly, or should we go a little lower? Because hey, they're priced a little high based on the others. So maybe we have some negotiation room, or, so that's what the comparables are. Yes. Thank you for asking me to clarify that.
So are sellers negotiating more than they were a year ago, or is it just similar?
More than a year. I think they're negotiating more than a year ago. I think so. And you have to realize everybody is different, right? So I had a seller recently, their house was being built, and they literally closed, and we didn't tell the buyer because I didn't want to lose negotiation power, right? So I didn't tell my seller's buyer that they literally closed their house, and their new house.
Were they using the proceeds from the sale to finance?
They needed the proceeds from the sale to finance.
But they weren't doing a 1031. They were just doing a sale.
No.
Okay.
No. Does your audience understand a 1031?
Okay. So yeah, explain the 1031.
You
Since
brought
you're
it
the
up.
expert.
I'll let you do it. Okay, so a 1031 exchange is when you are selling, if you have an investment property and you don't want to pay, you want to defer taxes. I'm not going to say you don't want to pay taxes. And you want to defer the taxes on the sale.
You want to do like Trump. Sorry. Why did I say that?
Don't get me in trouble. So you want to defer the taxes. So you sell that investment property and then you take the proceeds and roll that into another investment property and you defer taxes, and you can keep doing it over and over and over again until eventually you know, either your heirs or somebody else would end up paying the taxes or you stop. But that's a 1031 exchange in, you know, quick, dirty.
Yeah, not to over elaborate, but 1031 exchanges are great, as Tammy mentioned, because if you sell your investment property and say you gain on the property because you've had it for a long time and the cost is low, it's 400,000, you can take the proceeds from that and buy another property for the same or more. Because if you sell it for less, if you sell it and you don't use the entire proceeds to buy another property, say you have 300,000 left, you got to pay tax on that number. So, and you have to identify the property within 45 days of closing on the previous transaction, and you have to culminate the property within 6 months, 180 days after. So you do have a window. You need to get that done. So it's really interesting, actually, how that works. But the great thing about it is, as Tammy mentioned, which is very important, if you want your heirs to inherit the property, that's why I mentioned a previous person, and they do this all the time. If you take that proceeds, buy another property, and say you will the property to someone else, if one of your heirs, they get the stepped up basis. I mean, they get the market value of that property at the time when you pass away. So that tax is like, no, the tax just there's no tax. You're not paying any taxes on that. So we call building generational wealth. That's what I call it.
Right.
Anyway, we digress a little bit. But
that's where the accounting comes in. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job. So, didn't I introduce you to the 1031 person at one point? Was it you?
No, but I need one actually.
Oh, okay.
I need one right now.
Okay.
Somebody sent me something from someplace. But anyway,
I think I did, but we'll go.
You probably did, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah. I have a really good 1031 person.
No, it's not a good time to buy in Florida.
You know, I don't really like that question.
Okay.
And here's why.
Reposition the question then.
Well, here's why. Because my question to that question is, what is your intent? Right? Like,
that's a good point. It's a great point.
You know what I mean? So if you have to move, or you're getting a relocation, or you're moving to help family or to be closer to family or for medical reasons, etc., then does it matter, right? Or if you are looking to buy an investment, then that's a little different. Is it a good time to, you know what I mean? So that question depends on circumstances.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
So for people who are relocating, how should the buyer who's relocating approach negotiation when they're from out of state? So I'm from New York. Tammy is my agent. I see a house in Port St. Lucie, or West Palm.
I love how you say Port St. Lucie. Lucie.
Port St. Lucie. What do we call it? Mispronouncing the word. I want to buy a home. Okay. How does that negotiation? What should I be thinking about when I'm negotiating? We talked about this a little bit before, right? Is it I am going in saying, okay, do I try to find out the seller's situation?
That's not your job, but yeah, that's my job.
See, there
you go, trying to overstep. But yeah, so what you do is, so I always try to get some background. Now, a good realtor, like with what I did with my sellers, I wasn't telling nada. I wasn't saying, hey, they need to get out of here. Their house is being built. If they don't sell this house tomorrow.
So you're acting like a fiduciary for your person you represent.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because in Florida, we have single agency. Let me talk about that too. So in Florida, we have single agency, meaning when I sign an agreement, and that's another thing we got to talk about. So when I sign an agreement with my seller, I represent that seller unless they give me permission. So I had a client last week the Miami couple. I showed them one of my listings and they thought they wanted to buy it. So I had to call my seller and tell them, hey, I think they want to buy this house, but I need your permission to transfer from single agent over to transaction broker, meaning, and then I have to get permission from the buyer to say, hey, I need your permission to go from, because they signed a buyer's broker agreement, which remind me, we got to talk about that one in a minute. They signed a buyer's broker agreement. And I had to get their permission saying, hey, if you're going to buy this house, I can't represent either one of you. I have to represent the transaction, but I need your permission to do so.
So you're not representing either party?
If they give me permission, because I had already signed an agreement with the seller.
You can represent both then if they give you permission.
If they give me permission, I'm representing the transaction now. I still have a duty of honesty, and loyalty and things like that, but I don't have a duty of, and I have, I don't have, no longer represent them. So I can't say to the buyer, and I would never, I can't say to the buyer, hey, they need to sell because their house is being built next week. And I can't say to the seller, hey, these buyers, they really want to move because he's starting a job next week. So, and I know they're willing to pay this, or, hey, I know they're willing to lower the house this much. I have to be very neutral in those circumstances.
So you're saying you're an ethical agent, because sometimes that's hard to find. But anyway, we keep going.
How long have you known me? Remember, I'm an attorney too, so I still have in my mind.
Yes, the legal.
Even though I don't practice, I'm like, okay, confidentiality. I'm not going to share, But let me talk about this. So in August 2024, the ruling came down that any buyer, because some buyers don't know this, a buyer has to, before they can be shown a house by a realtor, and this is across the country, anywhere in the US, you have to sign a buyer's broker agreement. And that buyer's broker agreement states that I'm representing you. And it could be very specific. Like if you call and you say, hey, I want to look at a house, but I don't want to be committed to you as an agent, you can sign an agreement just for that one house saying, hey, I'm going to show you this house. If it sells, you pay my commission. Now, the ruling came down because it said that sellers should not be paying the buyer's agent's commission. That why are they paying the buyer's agent's commission and the seller's agent's commission? So now this buyer's broker agreement says, buyers, if the seller is not paying my commission, you are now responsible for that commission.
Oh, that's interesting, actually. That's a big lawsuit that they was
Correct.
Against it. Okay.
That they settled.
Okay.
Correct.
Yes. So now, because I know that I've seen that in terms of rental agreements in New York, actually. So you're saying that nowadays sellers can decide not to pay the commission to the buyer's agent.
Correct.
But does the seller still have to pay their agent the 5 or 6% that was the normal range before?
Well, there's no normal range. Everything's negotiable. So they are now, the typical range is between, for one side is between 2.5%, 3%. So they would only
wait. What do you mean? The range is,
because you're thinking 5 to 6 is both sides, the buyer and the seller.
Right.
So
yes.
6%, the buyer's agent, and with the buyer's agent would get 3, and the seller's agent would get 3. Right. Now they only have to pay their agent, so it might be 2.5 or 3%.
Oh, okay.
So they only have to pay their agent. I will say this though: most sellers are still paying the commission. That's what I tell most of my buyers when I go out, because they're like, "Oh, I might have to pay you 3%." I'm saying everything is kind of opaque. It used to be completely transparent. We can no longer list commissions on the MLS or anywhere in public. So when I call to make appointments, I have to ask, hey, is your seller paying my commission? And I relay that to my buyer, because my buyer might not be in a position to pay my whole commission. And I'll say, hey, this seller is paying 2.5%.
That is so wait. So I'm trying to get this clear. So if you're selling a home to a buyer, the seller negotiate the rate with their agent, right? Who's selling the home. Do they still, and so they'll pay what, like 5%, and the buyer will pay 2.5%? So is that a bigger number now than previously? How does that work?
Say that again. I think
so if I'm going to pay the seller
Okay.
My agent, I'm the seller. My
You're
agent
the
say four.
seller. I'm
I'm
your
paying
agent.
4%. I'm paying 4%.
Okay. You're paying me 4%?
Right.
Just to sell, just for the sale side.
Yes.
Okay.
So the buyer may have
Send
to
me
pay their agent a fee.
Mhm. If you don't, if I bring you a listing agreement and I say I'm going to sell your house, and you say, oh great, Tam, I'm going to give you 4% if you sell my house. At that point I say, is that 4% just for me, or do you want me to give a portion of that to the
Oh,
buyer's
okay.
agent? And you could say, okay, I'll give you 3, and you can give the buyer's agent 1%. Or you
That
could
is
say,
that is
or you
really
could
in that
say,
is really
yes.
because I know an agent the other day told a seller that he was giving that seller a discount, but he was charging the seller 4%, and the buyer didn't have an agent.
What? Say
So
that
the
again?
buyer is a walk-in buyer. They went and buy
Okay.
the property. They didn't have an agent, so
Okay.
there was no buyer's agent to receive a fee either from the seller or pay directly. So the seller's agent was representing the seller, right? So they're giving the seller the agent for the seller gets 4%. So he doesn't have to share that
Oh,
4%. He doesn't have to share that 4%.
he doesn't have to share it. No,
No. Okay.
no,
Okay. Is
no,
that
no, no.
normal though?
It depends on the contract. Everything is contractual.
No, because he's saying he was doing the seller a favor by charging them 4%. That to me sounds a little bit high too.
I can't say. I can't say. I, no comment.
Okay. Okay.
No
Interesting.
comment. But everybody should understand that you have to sign an agreement with, so don't be taken aback. If you want to see homes, it's not like the good old days where you just like, oh, can I see this home? Da, da, da. Oh, sure. You have to, you're in a committed relationship with that agreement, even if it's just for 1 or 2 homes. And then, just read it. I tell people, please read it and be specific and tell if you feel like, because I've seen, actually I have a friend, my good friend's niece is going through something where she signed a buyer's agreement and then didn't get in touch with the agent for a while. They kind of, nothing bad happened, but it was just like they stopped looking, and they were looking in one neighborhood, and then a couple months later they started up again with a new agent and bought a house, and that agent they never canceled that buyer's agreement. So now that agent
Oh.
is coming after her and the agent for the commission, and this was like a $2 million house, so it's pretty substantial.
Whoa, it's a substantial
Yeah,
number.
yeah, so it's a pretty substantial number. So yeah, so you want to make sure you see the end date. If you know you're only going to be in town for like the weekend, or something, you might want to just say, hey, let's do a 30-day agreement. If you know you're looking in Kissimmee, you're looking in Sarasota, you're looking in Port St. Lucie, you're all over, don't have it write Florida, write the city, because then it's very specific. If you decide not to buy in Port St. Lucie and you go to the other part of the state, have that one say Sarasota. So just make sure that, because agents will come after you, because they can easily look you up and see if you bought a house and when you bought a house and who your agent was, and say, hey, I have an agreement with them. So yes.
So I'm gonna go back to this because we mentioned it before, but
Okay.
do buyers or sellers need to do due diligence on their agents? I'm gonna give you an example why I asked that question.
Okay.
Let's say I have an agent and
Okay.
the agent is selling a home for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm looking for a replacement home or another home.
Mm-hmm.
This may be real, by the way, people. This is a real example. And you do your own research to find a home, and the agent is saying, when you find a home, tell me when you find it, and I'll represent you.
Oh, I hate when they hear that. Oh, I hate when I hear that.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I won't tell you what I'm thinking, but that's just doesn't sound right to me.
No.
That's me being nice by saying it that way.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, and it yeah. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm very hands-on. So I'm very hands-on with my clients. Like I hear from builders like, and I'm not saying this to brag, it's just an example, and it's part of me probably being the oldest, and I'm just very control. I'm kind of a control freak in a good way though, because it benefits my clients. But with builders, like for example, all I literally and I want to mention something else with builders. Remind me, just remember builders, and I'll come back to it. All you have to do is take your client as a realtor, all I have to do is be there the first time and walk my clients in the door, sign a form, and that shows that that's my client. I could never come back to the builder and leave the client with the builder, which I hear that some people do, and then just show up at closing once the house is built 9 months later and not have any other contact, right?
Yeah.
Me being the controlled freak person that I am, I got a call from my client in South Carolina who just is building, and I'm like, well, we need to schedule because he has to pick out all his colors and flooring and all that. I said, okay, we're going to schedule that because I'm going to be there to help him, walk him through that. I actually read the contract, the 40-page builder's contract, and offered suggestions. I also, I just do certain extra things that a lot of people may not do. And even my clients, the funny part is my clients did research me, the ones that came from North Carolina last week. And when he called me initially, he said, oh, no, I don't want to commit to a realtor. I said, okay. I said, well, he said, I have about 8 or 9 houses I want to see. I said, well, just be aware that you're going to have to sign 8 or 9 brokers agreements, and you're going to have to set up 8 or 9 individual appointments to see those houses. I said, but that's fine. I'm not going to pressure anybody who doesn't want to work with me. I'm not that pushy realtor. I said, that's fine. I said, and you may want, and he had questions about the taxes and homestead exemption, which we should talk about briefly, just different things. So I said, let me send you a link to answer some of your questions. Here you go. No questions asked. Have a great day. If you need anything, let me know. 2 days later, he researched me and he calls me back. He's like, I researched you and I didn't know you were this, and we want you to be our realtor. I said, oh, well, thank you very much.
Sign this contract.
Right. And he did. I said, you have to sign the broker's agreement. He was like, but he did. And yeah, I think that if someone says to you, when you find a house, call me, you need to run away. You need to run away.
Yeah. No. I'm smiling because I know I am an attractive client to a realtor if I'm doing this research on my own, try to get the property on my own. So they're gonna get the total commission, right? They don't have to share anything. Right. So that's the approach I'm taking. So when he told me this, I was like, so, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You'll never hear from me if I find something because I'm not going to tell you because you're not doing it. He would send me once in a while a property, and I'm sitting there thinking, you're sending me this, you're doing no work, you're doing no due diligence, you pick something up, send it to me. Why aren't you doing and going out and really doing research and really assessing what my needs are and then come back to me?
So did you guys, did he have a conversation, like an assessment saying, hey, when are you looking?
No, he's representing me for another transaction. He's representing me on a sale, and now I got to do a replacement property. And instead of him going into the search to do that, he wants me to do it, and then he gets the benefit.
For a 1031.
Yeah. He wants me to do the research, and he gets the benefit. And I'm thinking,
oh, no.
You must just think it just came out of a.
And that's a guaranteed sale because you have to do the 1031.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah.
As a cat, it's the easiest thing.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So let me say one thing about builders real quick. How much
builders and homestead. Builders and homestead. So go builders first.
Okay. So builders, when you're looking at new construction, a lot of people don't realize they should have their own realtor. Because when you're looking online and searching and looking at homes and looking at communities, once you call them and they have your number in the system, or you go walk in the door, you can no longer bring your own realtor. They have you. It's like you sign and you belong to that builder. They don't allow you to bring in a realtor after the fact. If you walk in the door and say, hey, Like another example, I'll go back to my clients last week. They had already talked to one of the builders. So I knew they were coming in town. So my buyer's broker agreement excluded that one community because they're like, well, we've already been there. We're coming back to look. I said, okay, I can't represent you because you've already been there. But they had 2 other communities they wanted to look at. I said, okay, for these 2, I will write in the buyer's broker agreement, if you purchase here, then I will be your agent, but I can no longer do it there because you've been there. So once you walk in that door and sign your name, you can no longer be represented by your own realtor.
So is it like you're signing with an agent when you do that? When
you're signing with the builder's agent.
Oh, yeah, because they always have their agent there trying to sell those homes. So yeah.
Yes. So
that is interesting.
Yes. So
always, isn't that a little bit sneaky though? Because you don't really know that. You're uninformed.
Most people don't know that. No,
that's
most
very
people,
sneaky actually by the builders.
Yeah.
To me, that's very
no one
sneaky.
knows that.
That's very sneaky, people.
It's very sneaky.
Just think about it.
Sneaky.
You go into this place, they say you're gonna sign this thing so you can view the home. You're not thinking it's an agent who's representing you, but by default, you're signing an agreement that you can't use another agent for that specific community.
Now, if you sign, hey, I do have an agent, they might, it depends on the builder. They might, okay. So let's say I'm out of town and you're like, I just want to go look, and you say, Tamara's my agent. Because I know a lot of people in the area, a lot of the agents, I could just call them. They'll be like, Tamara, your client came, you're good. But most times they're like, you have to be there on the first visit with your client.
Don't they ask you if you have an agent though? Don't they ask you?
Yeah, but sometimes it's at the bottom with the small print and So, okay. But always bring, because again, you want somebody that knows the communities, like to explain like, oh, okay, what's upgrades? What's not? Here's the contract. Let's look this over. Did you get a copy of the HOA agreements? Did you get this? Did you do that?
Because Florida don't have lawyers, do you? You don't have lawyers for real estate transactions.
We don't have lawyers for real estate transactions.
Yeah, New York, you have lawyers. So your lawyer do all the work.
And another thing, so what came up in one of these transactions in the last couple of weeks, my clients are buying the model home and they're renting it back to the builder for a few months because the builder is building another model home across the street because they're shutting down these old ones and building a new one. So they sent the lease over and it said 6 months. So when I saw that, I said, well, in Florida, we have a tourist tax. So anything rented under 6 months, you have to pay the state and the county because it's considered short-term rental. So I went back to the builder and I said, hey, it can't, as long as it's more than 6 months, the tourist tax won't apply. But if it's 6 months or less, you have to pay the tourist tax or we have to change the agreement. My clients wouldn't have known that, right? Okay. Because they're not from Florida. So it's like these little nuances that you want to have somebody on your side. And you're not paying me, the builder's paying me. So why not bring your own realtor? Because 9 times out of 10.
So don't the build? So isn't it the same concept which for the builders, or is that different? Where you're saying nowadays in today's environment, the buyer pays their agent and the seller pays their agent. Isn't the builder the seller and you're the buyer? So wouldn't the buyer pay you agent fee?
No. So I think you missed one thing I said. Most sellers, even in this environment, even though you have to sign the buyer's broker agreement, and the buyer's broker agreement says, if the seller doesn't pay me,
okay. If the seller doesn't pay you,
the seller does not pay me.
No, you did say that. You did say that. Yeah.
Or if they only pay me a percentage. So if the seller says, hey, I'm paying you 2%, then you pay 1%. Okay. So you make up the difference. Yes.
Okay.
But because of the environment, most builders are paying the commission now anyway. So
what about homes? You're saying something about homestead.
Okay, so homestead exemption. New York doesn't have homestead, right? I can't remember. Do you guys have homestead?
Not that I'm aware of, actually.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I know New York, you get waiver for taxes. Not waiver, but discount for certain age and certain things applied for. No, I think they do have it in New York.
I thought you
they have it in New York. They have it in New York. They have it in New York. I just don't get it, but they have it. They have it.
You don't get it? No.
No. Okay. For whatever reason.
Okay. you might want to look into why.
No, I know why, but go ahead.
Okay. I got you. So homestead exemption in Florida is basically this. One of the things, let me say this. When you're looking at homes and you look at the tax bill, you have to realize that in Florida, the tax, once you purchase the home, and I think it works like this in most states, once you purchase the home, the tax is going to reset to the current tax rate. So what does that mean? I like to give this example. How much time do we have? A couple minutes?
I have time. It's up to you.
Oh, okay.
We allotted an hour for this, but we're over a little bit. So
okay. Are people still listening, or are we boring?
Yeah. They're still here. They haven't left it. In fact, it's increased. But keep going.
Oh, okay. All right. So here's the example I like to give for clarity. Okay. So let's say you buy a house, and I buy a house, the same exact house on the same exact street, and we close. I say, hey, I'm moving to Florida. You're like, hey, I'm moving to Florida. Like, hey, I found a builder. Hey, okay, great. We buy the same exact house, same price in what year are we now? 2026? In 2020, right? 2019, right before COVID. You say, I'm buying this house and I'm going to still commute back and forth. And this is my second home.
Yep.
I say, okay, I'm buying this house and I'll watch it for you because I'm living next door, but this is my primary, right? So let's say the taxes, to keep it easy, let's say the taxes are $1,000 a year, right? When we bought it 7 years ago, right? I get homestead exemption because it's my primary. You don't. So what does that mean? It means a couple things. One, it means that my taxes can't go up more than 3% a year because it's homestead. You who are not homesteaded, you can go up, your taxes can increase up to 10% a year. Okay. Two, in most cases, the first $50,000 in assessed value, not appraised value, assessed, meaning what the property appraiser assesses your property, if the first $50,000 is exempt from taxes. On your property, it is not. So what happens is my taxes, let's say the first year, I'm not going to keep going up and up and up. The first year, my taxes only go up 3%, yours goes up 10%. So now your taxes that started at $1,000 is now $1,100, right? Because that's an extra $100. My taxes are $1,030, right? And then it keeps going up over the years, but now yours is going up exponentially. So by the time we both say, hey, we're going to sell our houses, your taxes might be, and I'm just making this up, your taxes might be $3,000. My taxes might be $1,500. So people are going to look and say, well, why is that same house next door only $1,500 and his is $3,000? Well, I had homestead. But what's going to happen is they say, okay, I want to buy that. I want to buy Tamara's house because it's only $1,500. No. What's going to happen the next year, it's going to jump up to your current tax rate, the $3,000, and reset. So that's what I like to tell people when they see houses and there's a big discrepancy in the same neighborhood with the tax bills. It's because one house is probably homesteaded and one house was probably not. So you should really look at the taxes that aren't, because that's probably going to be your true tax bill after a year after you buy it and it resets. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, New York is. I think most states are probably very, very similar.
Yeah.
I know once I ran a situation whereby there were adjoining houses, right, semi-detached houses connected, and the city was billing both houses were as 4-family houses. It's multi-family houses when there were really 3-family houses. Right, there are 3 families in the house. Don't ask me how the city has been doing this. It's normally happening in the less in the black neighborhood. Let me just say that straight because it's fact. Because we just get killed. And so I challenged the city.
We can't get a break, man. We can't get a break.
I know. And I challenged the city, but what the city did was they came and looked at it and came up with this fictitious assessed value, which is more than what I think the value should have been. But the adjoining house was still being billed as a 4-family versus the one I looked at now, the one which I had them reassess was being taxed as a 3-family. So it was being both properties are the exact duplicate, exact same properties. One is paying for a 4-family, which is probably $2,000 more per year than the adjoining home. Wow. That's how the city just does strange things in New York with certain things. Seriously.
And you guys isn't there something new with landlords or something with the new mayor? There's a lot.
We have a lot of things with landlords it's not landlord friendly.
Oh,
so in New York, currently, I'm gonna digress a little bit. People are giving away any homes over 4-family. Oh yeah, literally giving them away.
Yeah,
because they're not profitable because they're SROs. So they're either homes where they have a restriction on how much rent you can charge, and it makes it very unattractive to have those homes. Anything over 4-family is not worth holding in New York.
Yeah, I have a client in Florida. Her tenant's been living there for 2 years. She still can't get them out. She's been to
Yeah, yeah.
court, and
But down south is less down south they're less receptive to not vacating the property when the landlord asks you to. In New York, it can take you up to 10 months. It takes you up to a year. I know somebody now someone's there 8 months and haven't left the property.
where?
In New York.
Oh yeah, no, I have a
Yeah, in New
client
York, it
2
can go up
years.
to ridiculous amount of time. Down south, it doesn't take that long to get people
No,
out.
in Port St. Lucie, you can get someone evicted in 30 days. Yeah.
Yeah. New York is a tenant domain, unlike most places down south is a bit different. All right. So I know we're at another time.
Yeah,
So
this was fun.
Okay. So how should buyers think about resale value when they're relocating? You know what? I'm gonna rephrase that. When you're buying a house,
right,
and you're buying it to living it, do you think about resale value? Or you just think about,
of
what?
course.
It's my
I
dream
think you
house.
should.
Okay.
No, I think you should. I think I have a client building in Tennessee. They live in Florida. I'm selling their house in Florida, and they're building their house, and they're building a 2-bedroom. And I'm like, oh, for resale. And they're like, oh, this is our last home. I'm like, yeah, but it's tough to sell a 2-bedroom house, and it's on a lot of land, and it's gonna be gorgeous. But I'm like, oh, I wish you would just put one more bedroom in.
Oh yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because people, even if you're an empty nester, you're still going to want an office and a guest room or this or that. So yeah, I think looking at the layout, looking, even if you're buying, like, I'll give you an example in a community. I have a client that bought a house a few years ago, and they're an older couple, and they moved in with their daughter, so now they're selling. When they bought it, their first house that I sold for them and they moved up to Port St. Lucie was on this beautiful lake. I was like, are you sure you don't want the lake view now? Because for resale, it's going to do much better. And they're like, no. And now they're selling, and there's so many new homes going up in their community that the Lakeview homes are selling first. So I'm like, I wish you would have just got the Lakeview. We would have sold it quicker. So there's little things like that, especially in the communities. Yes, you're going to pay a premium for the lot. But if you have to sell, because you don't know what's going to happen, right? So yeah, I would look at the number of bedrooms. I'm finding that I guess it depends, but the big homes aren't selling as quickly. Oh, and stairs. The 2-story homes aren't selling, especially in Florida, because a lot of people are older and they're thinking long term. Or if they have young kids, they don't want to run up and down the stairs. So 2-story homes aren't selling as well as single stories.
That's interesting. I love 2-story homes, but when you get older, those stairs become a challenge to walk up those stairs.
Yep.
And actually, I was speaking to a lady when I was in Georgia over the holidays, and she was saying she and her husband sold their house to buy, a ranch level home because he struggled with it to get up the stairs. So it's something you got to think about. Yeah. And something, the master bedroom is on the top floor.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Or if you do, like you said, if you do the 2-story, make sure the master's on the first, and there's a guest room on the first with a bathroom, because you don't know if you have to have aging parents or someone coming to live with you. So, just kind of thinking ahead to, most people are thinking, oh, I'm going to be here a while, I'm not going to sell, but I've seen it time and time again where something happens, and
life happens, right? You never know.
Yeah, life happens.
So you're saying you should have contingency plan in place whereby think that if I have to sell, will I get a good resale price for my home?
Mm-hmm.
And would it be able to sell at quickly, frankly, if I have to sell quickly? Okay.
Yeah, don't buy on busy streets, busy roads.
No?
No. Mm-mm.
Why?
No. People, it's too much traffic. And you're going to, like, I have a house for rent now. One of my investor clients built, and he was just like, he owned the land, and it was on it's not a super, super busy road, but it's a main thoroughfare. And it's hard to even rent because people are like, oh, I have young kids. If I open the door and they run out, they might get hit by a car. Or my dog might run out and get hit by it, because the cars are constantly going back and forth, right? So you have to think about that. So parents, you'll eliminate a whole group of people who have young kids if you if your house is on a busy road.
Are most new houses in Florida built in communities? Because I noticed in Atlanta, for example, a lot of new houses that are built, they just build them anywhere. Challenge neighborhood, busy road, big mansion type houses, because land is getting very scarce there. Right? I should say Atlanta. Certain areas of Georgia, land is very scarce. And you can see a $2 million house, and you're like, but I wouldn't live here. This is so busy. But they built, and people are buying them.
Oh, that's how Nashville is. Nashville, every corner. Yeah, it's like that. Port St. Lucie isn't like that. One, you have to realize Port St. Lucie is still a relatively new city. The big boom happened in, I mean, you know, they were building, it started in I used to know all the history. Was it the 60s? So it started by General Development Corp., which is a company that used to
GDC.
GDC. Yep. They used to advertise up north. Hey, come $1,000 down.
Yes.
$100 a month.
I'm dating myself, people. I'm dating myself.
Yes. Yeah. So GDC started it. So you had a lot of the, you know, wood frame homes, smaller, you know, being built. The 2000s came, and especially when I moved to Florida in 2005, the boom was insane. There were so many houses being built, right? So, okay, I lost my train of thought.
Now you're talking about the boom in Port St. Lucie and how things evolve over time.
And how it evolved. So, you know, it was just, you know, it was just so much going on then. Oh, this is what I was getting to. So the city is relatively new. So it's not going to be like a Miami, and there's strict building codes too in Port St. Lucie. So you're not going to see a big mega mansion because one, you're going to be priced out. The bigger homes are usually in the gate. Like we have one community called Tesoro, which is, you know, has big mansion type homes in the gate, and some of them are on the water that lead out to the ocean, et cetera, et cetera. Port St. Lucie, you're not going to have that huge disparity where there's a $2 million. You're not going to find a $2 million house. I won't say, well, now you will, because if it's waterfront, you will. Typically, you wouldn't. So you wouldn't find a $2 million house next to a $400,000 house. That's just not the way Port St. Lucie was designed. So
what about property tax? Because I found property tax in Florida to be very high. Isn't it 2% of the assessed value?
It's up there, like a little less. Yeah. It's
Because I noticed in New York it's probably about 1%.
Yeah. Well, you don't have state tax.
Well, that's true.
And when I lived in New York, as city, my paycheck, city, state, and federal.
State,
yeah. So
it's a big number.
Yeah, that was a huge number. So
it's a huge number.
You know, everything is a trade, and you have sunshine. How much snow did you guys get?
We don't think about snow. We're locked up inside watching TV.
Oh, okay.
Some people are drinking. I'm not.
Everything is a trade-off. And I think the moral of the story is, what do you want your life to look like, you know, in the next chapter? And I don't mean that you have to be 60 years old thinking about the next chapter. You could be, you know, 30 years old, 25 years old. Like, what do you want your life to look like? You know, taxes in Wellington. Yes.
Tax and insurance.
Yes.
Isn't Wellington a nice neighborhood?
Wellington is gorgeous.
Yeah, I know Wellington. You live in a really nice.
I love Wellington. I love going there for the horses and when they have the shows and everything there. Yeah, Wellington is gorgeous. But yeah, what do you want your life to look like? That's the question. What do you like to do? I remember living in New York. When I was working at Goldman, my first condo I bought in Jersey City, right outside the tunnel, and it was 450 or 500 square feet for a 2-bedroom.
400, 500
square feet for
that's probably big in some place in New York. That's probably big.
And then you had to fight for parking, or you had to pay for parking. I remember I was paying for my car to be in a garage because my first couple of years there, people broke into my car and stole my airbags a couple of times.
Wow.
so you know, and
that was the old Jersey City.
No, that was in New York. That was in Brooklyn. Now, when I lived in Brooklyn in Park Slope, yes. I would my
You
airbag
can't buy in
sets.
Park Slope nowadays. You
I
cannot
know,
buy
but
in Park Slope, period.
this was 2000s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, people can't buy in Park Slope anymore. I wouldn't even live
I
in Park
know.
Slope. It's
I know.
ridiculous.
I know. I should
Yeah,
have bought when I lived there, but
yeah. No,
yeah.
I'm telling you, it's
Oh, I know.
Bed-Stuy, much less Park Slope. It's crazy.
Oh, I know. It's
Yeah, yeah.
insane. I
It's
remember
insane.
when
But
I
I was
could have
looking at a
bought
home the other day, and because I like to look at homes sometimes, and they were selling the home for about say $1,075,000, and it needs to be gut renovated. And I'm looking at the home thinking, $1,000,000 is just chump change nowadays, isn't it? It's a
everything's
joke.
$1 million.
Everything's $1 million.
Everything.
Exactly.
Remember when you would be like, "Oh, they live in $1 million home." You can't even say that anymore.
No, it's like a joke.
It's like every house, even small, depending on where you are, small little homes, Miami, Boca, it's like 2-bedroom homes are $1 million. Like
Yeah.
2-bedroom homes that are 60 years old. It's like $1 million used to, and you can't even be like, "Oh, they live in $1 million home." It's like everybody lives in a $1 million
You got to
home.
pay 2% of property taxes on that $2 million home.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It
It's
adds up.
crazy. So, but
Anything
yeah,
else you want
just
to say to the audience before you leave? We're come to the end of the program, everyone. I appreciate you being here. We've been here for an hour and a
no,
half.
this has been great. I feel like I'm talking to an old friend.
Because you don't reach out as much as you should. Maybe that's what it is. But let's put this back up again. Actually, this is Tamara's agency. It is called Sweet Life Realty.
And you can
She's in,
find me on IG. I just started my IG page again. So
okay.
Sweet Life Realty at Sweet Life Realty. Yeah, you can reach out to me there or go on the website, ask me questions. If you need anything, I'm here to help. I have my wonderful agent, Sonia, and agents, Sonia and Shakira. They're both in the Palm Beach area, so they cover, but they cover the Treasure Coast and Palm Beach. So yeah, I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me.
It's
And
always a pleasure.
I know.
Um, I'm sure the audience enjoyed the conversation.
I hope so.
It's a lot of fun.
I hope so.
Yes, it was good, and maybe you can come back. Some
If
point
I'm
in the future.
invited, I'm here. I'm
Okay,
here.
excellent.
We can talk about other stuff. I don't know anything.
Yes, yeah, we'll talk about other stuff in the real estate space because I am very interested in real estate. I've always believed that you should diversify your portfolio. Whatever portfolio you have, invest $3, put one in real estate, put one in bonds, put one in the equity in the market, and we call it $4. I maybe put $1 for a rainy day in the bank.
Yes.
Put in some.
Have you done a show on investing? Because you are the pro on that.
No, I haven't done any show on investing.
You should. You should.
Trust
me, listeners. This is. I came to him for advice in the past. This is the pro.
But we'll talk more about that. But Tammy, appreciate you. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
All right. Peace out. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. That was Tamara. You see her and her agency. I appreciate everyone being here. Good conversation. We're going to have more of these conversations, actually, both on my Balance View channel and Cranky Life channel. Well, mainly on Balance View because I really want to bifurcate the two channels. I've been saying this for a while now, and I'm hopefully doing it in the next few weeks. Of just doing these type of shows on Balance View and just do exclusive sports on Cranky Life. But I do appreciate you being here. Good conversation with Tammy. She's a really great person. She's a great realty. And the most important thing about her for me as a realtor and as a person who I've known for a long time, she has ethics. She's a fiduciary, which means she's going to have your interest at heart. She's going to do what's best for you as a realtor. And you hear me make some comments about that, but I've dealt with realtors in a number of different situations. And some of them they have lost their way when it comes to ethics. I suppose, when somebody says you have no moral compass, they don't have any ethics compass. That compass got lost. But thanks for being here. Truly appreciate you being here. Before you leave, please hit the like button, please share the channel, and please subscribe. And thanks for watching. Have a good night. Peace out.